Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 2 of Airfix's saddle tank locomotive J94 00 scale. In part 1 I discovered that one of the wheels was missing as well as the front door on the boiler. So those two items had to be scratch built. The build after that went fairly straightforward. So the train is actually almost built now. Just a couple of little finishing touches to do. In part 2, I'll be making a simple diorama for the train to sit on. So let's jump into this. The diorama is basically just a little track. So to get the gauge done properly, I've cut two strips of plastic card and I'm just laying them on the wheels so that I can measure out the gauge. And then I'm placing a bar across them, cementing it in place. Just be aware that if you are trying this technique, the parallel strips of plastic have a tendency to move. So make sure that they are in the proper position before doing it. Of course, you can use a ruler and do it this way, but I found it easier to do it this way and more accurate. That way I know I'm going to get the exact gauge for the model. So in the end I taped it down in position because it was moving too much. But this is now allowing me just to put in the sleepers beams in. I'm not using an exact size here for distance apart. I'm just doing it by eye and how it looks to me. So I've got a little bit of cut wood here. I think it's walnut, I'm not 100% sure. So I've just laid it down, the track that I built, and then extending it to the end of the wood. Make sure that your sleepers are on the underside, so the sleepers are really the only things that are making contact with the wood. And if you're having to extend it like I'm doing now, make sure that the join is in between the sleeper. That'll make it look more authentic that way. Now to cut the sleepers to size, I'm using a little trick here. I've got some masking tape and I'm laying it hard against the actual rail itself, and then once it's down I simply snip off the excess to the tape, so that way roughly the sleepers are all going to be the exact size that you want, so there's not going to be any that are sticking out too far, so it should all look even to the eye really. Not an exact measurement, but this is a good little technique to use if you're masking off something and you want parallel lines at the exact same size, especially if the area is curved in any way or dips and sways, like a fuselage of an aircraft or a ship. You would put your leading edge down, then put in your dividing bit of tape, then put your next leading edge down, take off your dividing bit of tape, then you should have the area which needs to be painted or trimmed. Then once that's all done, just checking it for fit, making sure everything lines up. As you can see, the sleepers are not spaced evenly. Again, it's just I done it by eye, but you can start seeing the basic picture here. So now it's on to painting, and I'm using Aquacolor 99 aluminium. Now there's an argument that can be made painted in steel, but I decided aluminium was better because the wheels are steel. So on to the sleepers, and I'm painting these in Umbro's 110 or 110 natural wood. This wood colour is really good. It's the best sort of wood colour I've found on the market. So on to attaching the track. Now what I've done here is I placed the track on and traced around the sleepers with a pencil before applying the super glue in the marks I marked off. This is so that I don't get excess glue lying all over the place. And then it's a simple case of laying the track onto the wood, pressing down a little bit. Remember, it should only be the sleepers that are making contact with the actual wood. So now it's time to put in some ballast. So I'm using a PVA glue here, and I'm just putting it in the places where I actually want the ballast to attach to. So in between the sleepers and the ends, or well, the side part of the track. So I've got this ballast. This, you can get this in most model stores. It's a lightweight ballast, and it's designed for this sort of thing. So I just sprinkle it on over the glued area. Give it a little pat down just to make sure the most of it will be staying on the area. Clearing it off the tracks as well, that's important, because you also don't want it to be on the track. It just looks wrong at the end of the day. So as you can see, I'm coming to the end of this part of the build here. Just carry on with the same process I begin with, laying the ballast down. A little tip there, put it on a little piece of paper or inside a box when you're doing it. That way, any runoff that you do get, you can either tip it back onto the model or save it for later. You don't want to waste it. I decided in the end to try the decals, even though they look really bad. I thought I'd give them a go and see what happens. Surprisingly, they worked out really well. They didn't fall apart, which I expected them to do so. There is a huge problem with the yellowing, but the thing is, the decal is outer walls of it is yellow anyway, and yes, it does dull the black very slightly once they're on, but I'm willing to put up with that payoff instead of printing out a whole sheet on a whole sheet of decal paper just to get some 3 decals put on. So I was either doing it this way or not having any decals put on. But as I said, they actually worked out quite well. So next I've decided to add some smoke detail to the engine. Now I've never done this before. My wife has done it, and she's quite good at it. This photo is of her work of the D-Day landing. As you can see, the smoke work there. So what I've got here is a pipe cleaner and a ball of cotton wool, and I've just unpacked the ball of cotton wool, and I'm going to be throwing it, rolling it over the pipe cleaner. Now, I've been told you don't really have to glue it in position. The cotton wool will adhere to the pipe cleaner, but I wasn't sure about that, so I used a bit of glue, and to be honest with you, it doesn't need it. It just increases wait time to dry. So once that's on, I began teasing out the cotton wool to give it a more fluffy look, and you can see it starting to resemble a cloud or a volume of smoke. And now to paint it, and I'm using a stipple brush here, and the paint I'm using is Mr. Hobby H95 Smoke Grey. It doesn't have to be a smoke colour though, it can be a normal grey black colour or a red, orange, yellow, however, whatever colour you want your smoke plume to be. Because mine has come from a locomotive, I want it to be a dirty colour, hence why I'm using the darker colours here. So I'm just dabbing it on using my stipple brush, no set pattern, just dabbing it on here and there, making sure though that I'm keeping some white. And then once it's dry, I'm pulling out the cotton wool even further. This will break down the pigment on the cotton wool itself, and I will give it a more fluffy look as such. And all that's left to do now is a little bit of super glue inside the funnel, and then place the pipe cleaner inside the funnel, then bend it to shape. Well, this is going to bring the build to an end. I had a lot of fun with this little kit. I learned some new techniques with the smoke, and yeah, I'm quite happy with the results. If you are able to get a hold of this kit, it is worth doing. I would imagine there's modern day equivalents of the kit around as well, so I may have a look out for one of them to see if there's much difference to it. So if you enjoyed this build, why don't you have a look at the rest of my channel and look at my other builds. Subscribe to the channel as well for any updates and new builds coming along the way. Hit that like button, and of course you can leave a comment. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.